So how to monitor students' progress? So this is an example of what a student's review would look like. So once they go onto Schoolbox, they can click on that link. They'll need to copy the access code if you have assigned an access code. So this is that login screen with all the different subjects. So if that student clicks on science, under assessments, she'll be able to see the task that you have assigned her. It'll show up with the time allowed and ask for an access code. So they'll paste that access code in there and then start assessment. All right. So once they have started that assessment, if you had enabled full screen monitor mode, it will go onto a full screen. So here where it says, click the button below to continue. So they need to make sure they're on full screen at all times. Okay, this is what the assessment quiz would look like. And if they lose focus, a red window will pop up with a warning sign. Okay, so they can just work through the quiz like that, select the right answers. Now, if this student was to lose focus and just go on a different window, I'll show you what that looks like. So let's say, for example, this student just closes a window. It'll come up with a red screen saying, warning, you are not in full screen. Now, when that happens, the teacher view, what it would look like would be this. So if I were to go on Education Perfect, so I'll show you from the start. So if I were at the Home tab, I click on Assessments. You click on that class you just assigned that assessment to, and then you click on that particular assessment that the student is working on. Okay, now on the left, if I click on Monitor, this takes me to my live monitoring feed. So here I can see that there's a problem with that student as they are not on task. Okay, so it'll come up with all this report. You can see that they were not in full screen mode for 7 seconds, they lost focus, or they're currently not in the full screen mode. So if they're not in the full screen mode, you'll be able to see that. Okay, and then all the other students, you can monitor them that way. So which is good. So it tells you if a student loses focus, so that you can sort of be aware of that. Okay, so if I click on that legend at the bottom, it tells me what all those symbols mean. So if you're not in full screen, not focused on the window, if there's a bad internet connection. So if there's a bad internet connection, you'll be able to know that as well. Now you can also lock the student. So if I click on lock, what happens is that I've locked that student. So let's say they weren't focusing, I'm just going to lock them. So if I go back to that student, a message will come up saying assessment locked by teacher. Okay, and they will not be able to continue on with the test. So you could do that if they're continuously losing focus. And then if you wanted to, you can unlock it as well, and they'll be able to go back into that quiz once they've entered the access code. This is a good way to sort of monitor your students while they're doing an assessment on education. Okay, so once the student has finished doing the assessment, what they'll do is that at the end, they'll be able to submit their results. So this screen will pop up saying make sure you review your assessment, and then they'll submit the assessment. So once they have submitted the assessment, you'll be able to see and review their attempts. So if I were to go back to teacher view, okay, now go back to that same assessment that they've been doing. So if I click on marking, in that marking section, I can mark the entire assessment, or I can even mark it section by section. All right, so if I click on entire assessment, and then you click on that student that you need to mark, all right, all their attempts will come up and you can see. So on the right-hand side, you can give them a score. So for example, if for some reason it hasn't been marked properly, you can change the scores here. And also if there's a long answer question, you'll be able to mark it and review it this way. Okay, and you have to make sure all the answers are there. You can add comments, okay, and that way you've sort of marked their test.